difference between high jump and long jump.
Yeah, it's one thing to be able to do the high jump. We all know guys with hops, but what this guy can do horizontally here. Understand how special his skills are. He's number 2 in the world in the high jump. He's also number 2 in the world in the long jump.
He awaits the measurement here. Let's get back a look at this runway. Again, it's trying to get enough speed down and then launch yourself up and into the pit. Good land there for him, and he moves into the early lead here. 27 feet, 1/2 inch for Harrison. And we talk about his double duty today. Got a little bit of a benefit because of that suspension of competition earlier in the intense heat of the afternoon, competing in the high jump. His first attempt at 7 3/4.
And everybody I know that's been watching this guy all year says, look, he's never going to win any style points, but what he has in spades is the ability to get off of the ground. Everything else can be improved.
And why we show pictures of Jim Thorpe in that old-fashioned way of getting over a bar is he's the last American man to actually compete in the Olympics in both the long jump and the high jump in the same Olympic Games. As JoVaughn takes now a rest, his mom is back in the stands. There is Georgia Harrison, raised JoVaughn as a single mother, Jamaican sprinter in her heyday, so good lineage there. And happy to see JoVaughn with the early lead here. That brings up Cameron Crump of Mississippi State. I know we've been talking about it too, as is Harrison. Collegians were here 2 weeks ago. A lot of the collegians just simply running out of gas at this point in the season.
Well, we've seen 1 or 2 manage to hang on. Thinking about the women's 200, where Battle broke the collegiate record last evening and getting that 3rd spot in the women's 2.
So here comes Crump, 4th at the SEC championships this year. So while we await the mark for Crump, it'll bring up the reigning Olympic champion in this event, Jeff Henderson. What a story and performance for him in Rio in 2016, as he centers himself now for this first trip down the runway. Crump, with his first effort measured at 25:11.5, puts him in 4th through the first 5 jumps in the competition. Henderson, after that gold medal victory in Rio, came back and represented the United States at the World Championships in Doha, where he won silver medal, coached by Al Joyner, 1984 Olympic champion in the triple jump. Watch him come down the runway. Stays up very high on his running style here, and then launches, and usually launches through the pit. That's how he won that Olympic title in 2016, but seems to like that effort there.
He didn't get a lot of the board here. In fact, I think he may have missed the entire, yeah, that is way back there. You have up until that yellow plasticine line. So he'll adjust his marks and try to get a little closer to the board.
And despite that sizable spot behind the board, still moves him up into 2nd place overall, 26 1/4, as we're halfway through the first round of the men's long jump final.
And Paul, as you know all too well, track and field athletes are known first and foremost for their athletic prowess. But then if you got some personality, it goes a long way. Like Craig Engels, the mullet and the mo and the mullet. You'll see him run in the 1500-meter final for a spot in Tokyo. He is quite the character. Check this out.
Thank you. My guy. My guy, you have a mustache too.
He is so much fun. This is when he came back.
Fist bump because of your mustache.
A real free spirit. The North Carolinian, who spent a lot of time in the Pacific Northwest, he's ready to roll.
Are you
moment. First, JoVaughn Harrison, who we've been following through this long day of both the high jump and the long jump. Here, his second effort. And looking at the takeoff board again. That one closer to the plasticine. Good height and the stretch into the pit. And his mark, 26 feet 9 inches. Not an improvement over his 27 foot 1/2 inch effort in round one. And he's currently in second. Let's go up into the stands where we find Lewis Johnson. Lewis, who do you got?
I have 9-time Olympic gold medalist Carl Lewis here, who just is about to do some coaching here. That was your athlete who just jumped, right?
Yeah, he did. I was Jermaine Jefferson, and just so close. But he's ready to go, and I think if we got to get on this third one to get to the final especially, then I think he'll have a shot.
Great. Carl, we were just sitting here exchanging stories. I mean, 18 years you competed as a professional athlete, right? And now it's been 7 years at Houston, is that right?
Yeah, it's been 7 years, and it was a long time. I always joke about it. It was 1 year before my first Olympics and 1 year after the Olympics, and everyone in between. So, yeah, it's been a lot of fun at Houston, and Jermaine was an NCAA second place guy a couple of years ago. So we're just trying to help kids, get their dream just like I did. It's just no different.
You've probably competed in every sort of circumstance there is. I mean, what did you make of the heat here in Eugene? What happened this morning with the temperatures in the triple digits and the delay and just everything that you have to deal with mentally as an athlete?
It's very, very difficult. I thought that they, we kind of knew about it in advance, so I thought they could have planned a little bit better. But, it just kind of shows the resiliency of the athletes. You get to a situation where things are going to change. You have to learn how to do it.
Want to know what you think about Jeff Henderson, Olympic gold medalist, who just seems to be continuing to compete at such a high level. What do you see in him?
Well, Jeff's tremendous talent. He's going to do well today. It's going to be a tough competition. The last three, I think, you're going to have big jumps. He's been consistent, been our most consistent guy over the last 10 years. I expect him to do very well today.
Yeah, and on the other end of the spectrum, you have this young phenom who won the NCAAs in both the high jump and the long jump, and now trying to do the same thing here, JoVaughn Harrison. What do you make of his talent?
Well, I think it's tremendous, and it's great that he has an opportunity not only to go to two events, but just to show that it can be done, and because a lot of the same principles are there. So he's just showing the world that we can do it, and I'm really excited about his future.
All righty, we're going to watch Jeff Henderson, who is on the runway, Paul, and great to have a chance to chat with King Carl.
Yeah, thanks, Lewis, for that. As Jeff Henderson lines up for his second jump, he's currently in fourth. And a better position onto the board. He gave up a lot of distance, Otto, on that first effort. That one looked a little bit better as he'll wait the measurement.
That's what veteran jumpers do. They adjust based on what the wind is doing. He got a little bit closer to the board, but barely grazed it. But that looks like it may be just below his best effort.
Yeah, they measure at 26 feet 3.5 inches, so he remains in fourth position, about 4 inches out of third place. Still got some time. If he can stay in the top 8, he'll have 6 rounds of jumps. We're trying to name a team for Tokyo in the men's long jump.
We are thrilled. We finally found our dream home in the mountains.
Long jump competition. We go back to Addo and Paul. Fellas?
Thanks, Lee. We're nearing the completion of the second round of men's long jump. You see the top mark on the ledger, 27.6. And as promised, here now a look at Marquise Dendy.
He has great speed on the runway, and he translated it into 27.6. So that's your current leader.
7-time NCAA champion while at the University of Florida. Made the team in 2016, but then got injured. Would mean a lot to him to make the team again here in 2021. As Dendy awaits the decision by Lawson, and so Jarian Lawson has, for the second consecutive time here in the final, elected to pass.
And I think this may be due to the heat. I think he figures, let me take the fewest number of jumps, quality jumps, that I think are going to get me on this team rather than taking all possible.
This is DeMarcus Simpson, who already has a lifetime best in this event today, 26:10.5, and why not? He is in front of a very friendly crowd. He competed collegiately at the University of Oregon. He was 8th at the Olympic trials back in 2016. Currently finds himself in 3rd. This has kind of been the area where everybody's been launching from today.
Yeah, everybody having trouble finding the board. He got great height. I love this run down the runway. But he's got to get closer to that board. And of course, at this track, they almost always have a prevailing wind at their backs. And sometimes because it can go up and down, that creates the problems with these guys trying to get their foot on that board.
And here is Marquise Dendy, our leader, part of Jump U from University of Florida. Too many great long jumpers and triple jumpers to mention. And he is certainly among them, and another good effort. Looks very confident coming out of the pit. And I think he's going to like this takeoff point. Again, if you don't follow the sport routinely, it is measured from where that plasticine is, no matter how far behind it you are, and he's very much dialed in on this effort.
I think he got all of the board on this one. Let's take another look and see just how much. Oh, yeah, he'll be happy with that. So the adjustment was made. And this is not an improvement, but he remains in the lead.
26:10.5, his 3rd effort. He's been over 27 feet today, 27 feet 6 inches. Brings up Corey Crawford out of Oakland, New Jersey, Big Ten champion while at Rutgers. He is in that tenuous spot in 8th position. Again, at the conclusion of this 3rd round of jumping, they will only advance 8 men for 3 additional jumps. Wants to improve his position here. So while we await the mark for Crawford, and keeping our eye on Jerry and Lawson, who has found a comfortable spot on the infield. Still has not jumped today, passed on his first 2 efforts. Certainly capable of getting himself into the top 8, but there will be no margin for error, Otto, if this is his strategy, as he would have only 1 jump available to him to reach that top 8 position. 25.5 1/4 was not an improvement for Crawford. So that brings up JoVaughn Harrison.
Sitting currently in 2nd.
Was roommates in college with Mondo Duplantis, who will be one of the gold medal favorites in the pole vault, competing for Sweden. LSU always bringing the firepower to these championships and trials. And back to the board, and that one closer than the previous 2. Trying to improve on 27 feet 1/2 inch, and Harrison not only does that, he moves into the lead, Otto, and a new lifetime best, 27.9.5.
Well, he danced out of the pit. He seemed very happy with it. As well he should be. PR, imagine this guy who has been competing since early in the year in the indoor season, winning all of those collegiate championships. And on a hot day in June in Eugene, the hottest ever, sets a PR.
And Otto, as we look at this, you were a fast guy in your day, at least rumors have it. It is just not just speed to get to be a good long jumper.
No, you have to be able to convert that speed. And he did a great job of doing it. Great height off of the board. And not a bad landing as well. 27.9.5. New PR for Harrison.
It's a 3-centimeter improvement for Harrison, who is number 2 on the world list so far in 2021. And a legitimate medal favorite in both of his events, should he be able to remain in the top 3 here through the remaining 3 rounds of jumps. And here is Tremaine Jefferson, and talked to his coach, Carl Lewis, here a moment ago. Made his first world team in 2019, and excuse me, this is Crump now on the runway. Apologize for that. Jefferson just jumped 25 1 3/4. And so Crump, who is in 7th, with a best of 25 11 1/2.
That's a foul. So he will not improve after 4 rounds.
And clearly over the plasticine, and will have to wait now and see if he can get himself into the final. He's currently in 7th with 6 jumps scheduled here to complete the 3rd round. That'll bring up Jeff Henderson.
Next up on the runway here, Jeff Henderson, currently sitting in 5th.
26 1/4 in round 1 was his best.
Right now in medal position.
Otto, many people remember his dedication of his Olympic gold medal to his mother, who was battling with Alzheimer's, rushed home to bring the medal to her. And as Carl Lewis said, probably the most consistent American long jumper over the last decade, and wants nothing more than to go back in an attempt to defend his Olympic title from Rio. He sits in 5th, needs to be in the top 3 by the end.
Not much of the board. And I talked about the wind that's always usually at their backs here. I mean, he's not close to that board. The thing is that the wind in this stadium has died down, so it's not like they have a big, 2.0 meter per second wind at their backs. The wind is relatively still, so I would imagine that guys with the sort of experience that Henderson has would be able to make an adjustment to get on that board. So it hasn't really happened so far. It's been off and on, hit and miss sometimes.
So more jumping continues here in the 3rd round. We'll get back to that in a moment. We're getting set for the first action on the track that will actually conclude a very long 2 days of competition in the women's heptathlon. And we go back to earlier in the day where temperatures soared into the triple digits. This is Talia Brooks, who was 4th going into the 6th event, the javelin. You can see her laboring a bit after a warm-up throw. She would eventually end up on the track and was taken to the hospital. She was okay, then released, then came back asking to be reinserted into the competition, but after a discussion with medical personnel, she was not cleared, and so Talia Brooks will not complete this 2-day heptathlon. We have 6 events complete. The top 3 of Kendall Williams, Annie Kuntz, and Erica Bogard will be in the 2nd section of this final event, the 800 meters, as I bring in Sonia Richards-Ross to help me call this 2nd section of the 800. And out here in lane 6, Sonia, this is Lindsay Flock, who has a bit more to her story this time around competing.
That's right, and I love that she's still